And I'd like to start with Elliot. So you were the first kind of outside arranger I approached about doing something together because we met each other when you were on the ASMAC board and we were kind of the young fellas. So we obviously connected, and then you have an amazing big band of your own. And yeah, we just hit off. So it's like, oh, we want to do some big stuff with big band. You naturally came to mind, and you were obviously, you said yes, which we're really thankful for. But if you want to talk a little bit about what the experience was like for you. How was it for you, Elliot?
But this chart in particular, or?
Yeah, like what kind of how it was different from, say, working with a vocal group, working with a vocal group like us as opposed to some of the other commissions that you might typically get.
I mean, everyone in here has been through this way more times than I have, but typically when I'm writing an arrangement for a vocalist, they come at me with a song they want to do, maybe some ideas of other recordings they want me to emulate. If I'm lucky, they know what key they sing it in, or maybe they know another artist that recorded it and they want to do it in that same key as that. And that's basically what I have to go on. And then I can sort of do what I want within those constraints. And then, just cross my fingers and hope that it's the best thing on their record, But Accent was a very different experience because you guys came at me with, here is the arrangement. Can you write big band around this? And it was a very thick, complex arrangement already. And it was sort of a challenge to sort of be, well, how can I ground this into something that would make sense with big band around it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was clear that it was going to be like a, medium swing, and that it was supposed to be kind of a closer by, the way the vocal thing was already written. And then it was sort of a challenge for me to, find where can I put in figures that make sense, and how can I introduce the band in a way that sets up you guys coming in, and then how can I, go into an instrumental thing out of that. And it was a challenge, but it was, exciting. And then after I'd gotten started, by the way, we're going to record this with Gordon Goodwin's band, who was, right here. That was terrifying. And, and then it's, well, now there can't be any mistakes in here because,
we felt the same, don't worry.
And then you called, I don't know, a couple weeks afterwards, and we're like, by the way, we got Arturo Sandoval wants to do something on the album. Can you fit him into your chart? And it's like, well, sure. I hadn't really written most of the instrumental in the middle yet, and I thought, well, you would make a big trumpet solo at that point. So I'd, get him into it and then force it to build in a way that makes sense. But I also, part of the challenge was I knew just from my experience with that, consuming Accent music, that most people were going to hear this from the video. That, doing a project with you guys meant that it was going to be a video. And so, once I knew that Arturo was involved, it was how can I arrange this in a way where we can quickly get Arturo on the screen? And then, how can I set this up and have big moments for you guys and not ruin it by putting too much of my own stuff on it?
Yeah.
So it was like a really, particular project in that way, different than other things I've done, but it was.
Yeah, and I remember, because I was kind of the point person. I didn't arrange the vocal arrangement, Simon did that, but he was hard to get a hold of at that time. So it was mostly me kind of talking with you and discussing stuff. And you played it, the first draft that you gave was awesome. And it was you played it very safe. You left a lot of room for us. Then we kind of were saying, oh, well, actually, you can do a bit more stuff. It's like, just think of it as the high-lows with 2 extra notes, which is essentially kind of what we were going for. But yeah, you killed that arrangement. You were so easy to work with. And obviously we're all arrangers in Accent. So even if we're not doing the band arrangement, we're still obviously going to have opinions, and that's probably not an easy situation to step into, because not only do you have to do something as an outside arranger that you're happy with, but you also have to please 6 guys with really picky ears, and you did that so easily, and so we were so grateful that it turned out in such a great way, and it was exactly what we wanted. So I was thinking of maybe showing a little bit about what we gave Elliot and kind of how he took it from there. So here's a section of the vocal score, which is played with terrible MIDI saxophones. So Simon, he did the full arrangement first, and then vocal arrangement, and then the in between, like the band will do a shout section. They can be however long. Like we didn't have any of those things set out. We just knew that the vocals should sound something like this.
I love I was going to say before you guys, keep in mind that what they sent me didn't have the chord symbols at the bottom.
Yeah. We don't generally do chord analysis of we don't write in the chords after. I mean, we just read it and we can see them. But giving it to somebody else, we realize, that might be useful for someone else, because you had to go and basically analyze Simon's chart to see
It's great. It was like I was in college again.
Yeah. Which is how Gene Perling did it, by the way. He would write music, but he didn't really have a strong music theory, so he just wrote in notes, and then Pat Williams, who worked with him, he said, yeah, I'd have to sit down and analyze what the hell he was doing, So here's MIDI vocals. Yeah, just release that. Great. Bestseller. And then here's what Elliot kind of added to that section. So now with some more MIDI playback. Swinging. To make it a little less square, that's actually me playing keyboard drums going to try and make it suck a little bit less as far as playback goes. And then here's how the rough mix, so we got it recorded at Capitol, which was an amazing session, and we had done the vocals by this point, so we did the vocals first, and here's how roughly what it sounds.
When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going down the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm, and the fire is slowly dying.
Yeah, it's a certain amount of trust, because obviously you have to use your imagination when even looking at a score or hearing some sort of playback, because it's generally not going to sound the way it will in the end result, but you have to kind of imagine what it will be, and this thing sounds really bad as a MIDI trumpet, but the real trumpet's going to sound great. So you have to really trust that the people you're working with obviously know what they're doing, and that hopefully we know what we're doing too. Anything else you want to add about the experience or the process, or what you want for Christmas? I don't know.
I think if you have any questions,
Yeah, well, maybe let's listen to your whole track.
But the fire is so delightful, and since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Well, it doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. The fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbye. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Whoa. since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow,
Let it snow.
It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights have turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm, and the fire is slowly dying. And my dearest dear, we're still goodbye-ing. But as long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Oh, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Just let it snow, yeah, let it snow.
As a stop there. Okay. As a just want to stop the jingling. As a first collaboration between the two of us, I'm like, wow. How did that happen? But yeah, thank you again so much. Any questions for Elliot or anybody? Yes.
Say you guys want to cut away to the shot of just a few.
Oh yes.
Say you guys want to cut away to a different shot of the singer.
No, that was the gold medal winning international barbershop quartet, the Ringmasters from Sweden. They're good friends of ours. And Simon wrote a little barbershop kind of thing, and we had sung it in the recording, but we thought, these other group is kind of funny. Maybe we could just like have them cameo as a special guest. And they said, yeah, sure, which is pretty cool. Came out amazing. Thank you. Awesome. Great job, Elliot. Hi, Nan. That's you. We are so grateful that you're here tonight and that you worked with us on what is really a powerful song on the record, "Oh Holy Night." And when we approached you, was it in March maybe about that, or a little bit later? And yeah, you were just so perfect for it. And we had only probably kind of gotten to know each other over the previous year, meeting at some ASMAC events, and when we discovered that we both have like a history of vocal group singing, you know, your mom being a vocal group singer and session singer and stuff like that. And so I thought it was like a really good fit. So was there anything if you wanted to kind of talk about regarding the process of working together, what was unique about maybe the experience?
Well, first I just want to say that it's such an honor to even be involved with anything you guys do, because it's just, the presentation, you know, lays it out for all of us what a genius he is. Well, let's just hear it for Andrew. Andrew multiplied by 6, you know. This is the apex of vocal music, in my opinion, in history, vocal history. So it's just really thrilling to be part of that. You know, there's so many other genres of music that I think are in decline and I'm not too inspired by, but what you do is just amazing. And also, I was at the Capitol recording session, and I was a witness to it, and hearing it live and hearing his band, and you running around and playing keyboards and conducting your own thing, which is great, and we're going to hear that, and seeing Elliot, who I'm so proud of him. Yeah. You know, I don't know if you guys were at that ASMAC and whatever it was an anniversary event, you know, and here was this great band on stage, and I was like, who's got the band? Who's this kid? You know, and I found out it was Elliot, and he had a band, and
2012, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, you've come a long way, baby. Anyway, I'm just proud of you. So back to my experience working with you. I would just reiterate everything that he said, which was that you sent me the track, and I basically said, what do you want? Why are you calling me? You know, what do you need me to do? You've got a complete track here. And I kind of was like taking my ball and going home, and you said, no, don't run away. So he took the vocal track, and he simplified it in a couple areas, I guess, and gave me some space, and it gave me more of an opportunity to have something to do. But really, it was just a beautiful track without me. So just the fact that he still wanted me to do something to it, I was very happy to be a part of it.
No, most definitely. So this "Oh Holy Night" was an arrangement that JB did, and we had been singing it for a few years because it's an intact a cappella arrangement. But we knew that, like, the classic thing is to be like, oh, let's just add strings to everything. Just make it like, people think, oh, we'll just add stuff. And it's like, we wanted to have strings present in there, but we knew we would have to adjust the arrangement to obviously make space for it. Because again, 6 voices and the way it's harmonically written, if it's meant to be self-contained and written that way, then adding stuff to it won't necessarily be the most wise decision. So we had to kind of reevaluate. So JB and I spent some time going and like either taking out some of the vocal harmony stuff there or completely removing sections and having the strings do it. So we said, we want you to do an intro, we want you to do an interlude, bridge, and we want you to do some outro stuff, and we're going to take away some of the harmony stuff and give it to you to kind of do your thing with. And I think we just kind of left it open. And what you came back, like your first draft, I remember I listened to it after, I think it was a really epic night. I was at your concert at Vibrato, the Fat Band concert. I came home and you had sent me some charts, so I was super inspired. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get to record with the band, Fat Band. We just saw them, it was awesome. And then I get home and I have this chart waiting, so I input it in and I listened back in Note Performer, and I was just like, even the MIDI, I was just like, oh, this is gonna be so good. And I was just like over the moon. I think I filmed the video and sent it to the guys. I might have even been crying. I would have been like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And yeah, it was just so effortless when the ideas just meld. Like sometimes you're working with people and you have to be very like, do this, or maybe they don't see things eye to eye with you. But with all these arrangers, it's like, well, first of all, like just look at them. What are we going to say to them? But it was just so nice that the musical chemistry just like was right there, being on the same page. So that was really special because that's what we have in Accent that brings us together, and to share that with you is really, really awesome. Here's what it sounded like.
No, please don't play the Note Performer thing.
No, I won't. No, I won't do that. But here's how a bit of it sounded a cappella from a performance we did a couple years ago.
Christ was born, oh night, oh holy night, oh night divine.
So some of that is intact, but some of it is adjusted or to make room for Nan. And if you don't mind me playing, I put this together really last moment. It's a little bit of like, because we recorded the strings with the Budapest Scoring Orchestra, and I'll have the contractor, Balint, come and talk a little bit more about that experience, which was awesome. But we were doing a remote recording where Nan and Dave and Balint were at my studio at like 7 a.m. for a 4 a.m. time zone recording up in Hungary. And it was really cool experience, and it came together so quickly. But I had never done that kind of remote session, so I was like super nervous and like really hoping that everything would turn out great. And Nan volunteered to like come and help like co-produce the session and make sure things went amazing for both her song and Jorge's tune, which also has strings. And I just remember I was so comforted by the fact that you were there, and it turned out really great. But if it's okay,
Well, you didn't know I spoke Hungarian, did you?
No. Oh, in which case? Oh,
I
okay.
don't.
But here's just a little bit of what that experience was like at early in the morning, so people have an idea.
The second violins, can they make on bar 47, can they make that downbeat just a quarter note and then have an eighth rest? So that there's a separation there for the violins to come in for their thing. You're going, what's she saying?
You like all that pizza, man?
What am I going to say? I don't know.
Forget what I said last time about the 8th rest and 47 for the second violins. Just if you can just make a slight separation mentally.
What's so funny? It's so bossy.
Yeah. Time is money, man. Time is money. Anyway, so that's kind of how that turned out. And do you have anything else you'd like to add or say?
No, it's fun to hang out with you at 7 a.m.
Well, Dave brought all the food. He brought the gourmet breakfast and coffee.
I know.
Yeah.
It was a good hang.
Although you looked like you were having just the worst day, Dave. You were on the couch. No, here's the completed track. I just finished the video for this one, so hope you enjoy.
The stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till He appeared and the soul felt its worth. The thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born, oh, night, oh, holy night, oh, night divine.
I'm so happy with, the guys are ecstatic of how all this turned out, but like, it's considering we had done that song before, like a fair amount, and just, you added something that none of us could. You really, could have imagined. And also Gail, where are you, Gail? Thank you so
Gail.
much. She played harp on the 2 songs with the strings, and as soon as I said, we're thinking about doing some stuff with string orchestra, she's like, can I play harp? Can I play harp? Can I be involved? And of course, I let Jorge know, and Nan will be like, I think, can you ready for harp? They're like, of course. So, does anyone have any questions? Yes, Brett. So the question was just for the playback, how are you able to mix your own unique arranging voice alongside of the arranging style of Accent, our group?
Well, I'm not, I'm not aware of my style. I just have my instinct and the way I want to do things. And I sort of quote Johnny Mandel on this. I just write what I want to hear.
Yeah. All right, for future reference, that was Liz saying how much Nan's intros kick ass. For future reference.
Thanks, Liz.
I couldn't, because I had no idea what your intro would be when you said, write intro, and you were able to quote, like, there is material from the actual melody in there if you listen very carefully. Yes, Kim. So about that string code at the end, I think that was a vocal thing that we just gave to you. And,
Yes, that's right.
So that we had sung that originally, and then she took that, and I think you might have altered it to make sense, a bit more sense for strings, but I think that was it, yeah. Cool. All right. Should we move on to the fat man?
He's not fat.
PH, fat. Hip. Gordon, your picture's on the screen. It looks like we're talking to you. So we approached you a bit later as well. Obviously, we had been in talks about maybe doing a collaboration for a few years now, as we are all like just super fanboys of you and your group. And actually, James from our group member from England, he found out, he kind of got into a cappella through your collaborations with Take 6. That's how we kind of found out.
He did say that.
Yeah, so that's a pretty big influence. And even as I'm trying to do more instrumental arranging and big band arranging and stuff like that, like your stuff is, the Bible of like contemporary big band writing. So when we approached you, we said, maybe, how about we have this chart of most wonderful time of the year that we have some vocals kind of figured out on. Would you be interested in collaborating? And then you said yes, and you said, well, maybe we get the big fat band to record it. And I was just like, no way.
Well, you might remember that we spoke some years before that. Evan called me, the bass singer, and we talked about a collaboration at that time. And I was aware of you guys on YouTube and heard some of the, and I said, these guys have gone back and learned the lessons of the high-lows and of Singers Unlimited. They all went to school through that, and they come together, and I was intrigued immediately. So I wrote a piece for Accent and the Fat Band, but it wasn't a song. It was more of a through-composed jazz classical hybrid thing, and it was long, and it was involved. And I remember I did a demo, and I sent it to you guys, and I said, here's a demo, but it's more kind of a keyboard demo, and I don't know who's going to play what, or if there's a lyric, or if it's just a textural thing. And I got hesitant about it, if you remember, because I think it's maybe for our first collaboration, too much.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not. I still think it might be something we resurrect, but we've talked a lot about what comes first when you have two people collaborating, and that indeed is the problem, because as arrangers, we're used to making all the damn decisions, right? So it's a pie. And the pie has so much room, and so we have to decide who gets, and it's an organic moving thing, and so somebody's got to go first.
Yeah.
And but before we get too much into that, I just have to say I'm so struck by the community here. It's a community of people, of arrangers and artists that their intentions are just for the music. And the way there are a connection between all of us, to see Pat Williams up there, who worked with Singers Unlimited, to sit here and look at Kim Richmond sitting there, whose music I played in high school, one of the first arrangers that made me want to be an arranger, You talked about breaking into tears with Nan. I have this radio show I do, and I was doing a Christmas show last year, and I'm looking through Christmas stuff, and I find this arrangement, or a track by Till Bronner, the German trumpet player. and he's playing Silent Night, and I'm listening to this, and I kind of seeing if it's appropriate, and I listened to the whole thing, and then I played it again. I listened to it 3 times, and I'm in tears. It's streaming down my face. I go, who wrote this? Because as you said, Nan frames the song in such a unique way, and I couldn't even. I mean, I still can't listen to it, without breaking down. It's just, there's something you have, and Elliot's amazing job, where you talk about how scared you were, but you went up there like a boss and put those notes up, and those guys in the Fat Band, they know the difference because they play crap music all day long as their livelihood. So when they come up and so they see a chart that just is working, it makes their jobs easier, so they know that. And so in the case of our current collaboration, I think Simon did his chart.
Yeah, we did. We had a vocal of so the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, we had a form of it, a whatever, AABA,
right,
of it arranged. And that's kind of all we had at that point. And we thought, maybe we'll arrange something. We'll finish the vocal range, but we want to kind of see what your ideas and thoughts are. And you kind of came back pretty much.
I think you might have said, let's start off with the Fat Band. We'll delay the vocal entrance till about a third of the way in.
Yeah, because I love the high-lows repertoire, but the form is pretty much always the same. Some sort of band or string intro, they sing the head, some sort of shout or interlude, they sing a little bit of it and then end, which is great, but we already have one of those on the album with Elliot's chart. What if we try and be a little bit more, not give 2 of the same thing? So we said, well, how about the band takes the first head, and then we come in, and then we build together.
And it's a delayed gratification thing, because we know it's a vocal record, so when they do come in, and of course we put a key change in, we know what that does, right, to our sensibilities. And so
sells records in the 90s, that's what it does.
It does, yeah. So that was an effective call. And then after that part, we had the last third of the chart to deal with. And so I was just so carried away by Simon's work, and I think at that point you had sent me maybe the vocals you had done.
Yeah, we had a rehearsal clip of all of us. So
rehearsal version, right. So I kind of knew what was, so then I go, I'm taking this home.
Yeah.
So then I think I wrote the last third of it.
Yeah, killed it.
But even that was just, frankly, I think I said this is just a suggestion. Take it and bring it alive. And because that's what singers do. Sometimes when singers sing the first time through, it sounds like shit, till they learn it. And like instrumentalists, it sounds pretty good. And then it gets this much better. With vocalists, it sounds like this, and then it gets like this, and then it gets to here, because they have some intangible thing that they use as they learn their music. And that's what you guys did. And that rehearsal clip you gave really helped me to hear where you would go with it.
Yeah, as much as, I read music and have to sight read or whatever and do all that stuff and analyze charts, but I'm definitely an oral kind of guy where I need to, hearing something as a reference gets me there quicker than reading it. I can get there by reading it, but if someone gives me even just 10-second clip of what it is, it's like, oh, perfect, now I really know, because I don't necessarily, the music doesn't speak to me on the page that way. Yeah. So that helps. So we try when we're working with people, when we tried to give you as much both chart stuff as we could, and then as much any sort of demo and stuff that we could. So I think, what did we send you? I think we might have sent you. Oh, sorry. I might play a little bit of that if that's okay.
Oh, is that my scratch book?
Yeah.
You son of a.
Yes, I'm son of my dad, Tony. He's a very nice man in Canada. Just a snippet, just to see, because so what. I don't have to. You can say no. It's no problem.
No, play it.
But I'll preface it first. So what we had done is Gordon had sent a little thing. He's what he's thinking of, and then Grace says, I think I've arranged the back half of the song, and he also sang the top line of it, in the octave that was comfortable for him to give us an idea. And we heard that, that sounds awesome. And even the way he phrased it is it really gave us a lot of fun. And then he also played a really good MIDI drum fill at the end, which I also replicated in a demo after. So this is kind of what we got.
When those loved ones are near, it's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time of the year.
stop. Just stop.
Yeah. So that is lovely, and I mean, it was great. No, it was perfect because you had already arranged all the vocal parts too. And what's something about Accent is we don't sing outside arranger stuff very often. Like obviously we'll sing some Take 6 stuff. I mean, not as much anymore because Take 6 still tours. They don't need us to sing their songs, but because we do so much of the arranging in-house, it's like we don't really reach out to outside people. But you know, if Gordon and Jorge are gonna arrange for us, it's like, hell yeah, we're going to sing that.
You know,
so.
That's far from my most embarrassing vocal, reference vocal. Because I wrote an arrangement for Take 6 and Brian McKnight. And they said, you got to go to Brian's house and pitch him the chart. So I go, okay, well, all right. So I did a demo, and I kind of had stuff, but then I thought, I'll just kind of, maybe we'll sit around his studio and do it. So I get there, and he owns a semi-pro basketball team. And they just finished a game, and they were all there. And so we're not in his studio, we're in his living room, and he goes, okay, Gordon, what do you got? And I go, everybody, it was like this many people. And so I said, well, he goes, yeah, show me. So I had to sing Comes Love and try to sing the Take 6 parts and his parts, and I was like the whitest guy in the room, put it that way, you know? And I said, oh, what? So I did it. I go, I got to sell this. I want him on the record, you know? So he goes, you know, Gordon, I think for me to really assess that, I'm going to need you here to sing it one more time. And he made me do it again.
We call that trolling. That's what the kids say.
Pretty much. He was trolling me.
No, but I mean, that was perfect. Just an audio reference. Again, I mean, apologies for sharing that, and I hope you don't mind, because I tried to share some embarrassing stuff of accent rehearsing and stuff, but that's just part of the process. You have to make silly notes or bad noises to make the good ones, and it's just part of it. And so we took that, and then if I press next, it should play. Nope. Ah, shoot. 1 second. I'm just going to skip ahead to this one. Here we go.
When those loved ones are near, it's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time of the year.
That's with the fake band, and then obviously we have the final thing, which is... Oh, no, this is special. So I didn't realize, I had only gotten to know Gordon a bit better these past few months since working on this, and I realized he's as sarcastic as I am, which is great, but it probably more. He has some experience, I'd imagine. I'm still young and still, optimistic. It was really funny to chat on the phone with him sometimes or email, because he would send something that I've worked with some people, some clients, that they kind of talk a certain way and they request something and it sounds insane and they're 100% serious. And since I didn't know Gordon that well, I wasn't sure. Remember, you left me a phone message, and at the end you were saying like, yeah, I think the arrangement sounds good. I had just sent him that recording, of the demo, of the vocals and the demo. And he said, I think at the end of it, I think we need to do an arrangement change. I think it needs to go, of the year. And you just keep that going, yeah. And he sent me a message like that. And I said, you know what, I have a better idea. Why don't we do this? So we had some fun with that. Okay. And if it's okay, I'd love to play the finished arrangement. And do you have anything else you want to say before?
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
I could sing more if you'd like.
Yeah.
the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year, of the year. It's the happiest season of all. With those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. Long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. Loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most there'll be much mistletoeing, hearts will be glowing when those loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful time. It's the most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time of the year.
Thank you so much. That this is a dream come true. Oh, I really wish the rest of the guys could be here. Oh well. That was a really special session to be a part of, and again to do two big band arrangements, but to have them work with our vocals, but to also be very like yours is very Elliot and yours is very Gordon, and our stuff is still very accent, and for everything to play nice together. Again, it's just musical chemistry. When it happens, it just works. You don't have to explain. It kind of works out, and that's really what's cool about just kind of how we do music in general. Like, obviously, it's great when you can speak the same language as the person you're working with, but it proves that you don't really need to. Music is just kind of something that transcends whatever artificial boundaries we put between ourselves. But
it's also a collaboration without ego.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that makes it, because commerce is not infecting it, because we're not making money.
No,
off
we
it,
all
really.
know we're broke. So.
Yeah, so it's all about a real true collaboration.
Yeah, and that was really special. So to find people that they always say don't or be wary of meeting your heroes because they might not be the person you imagine them in your head to be. Well, everyone here and everyone that came tonight, the people that I know, you're all so exceptional, and it's just where else could we kind of have a meeting where we could do something like this and everyone just really be listening for the music and really for the heart and soul in it. This is really rare, and so that's the kind of binding force that keeps Accent together, because there's so many reasons why we shouldn't exist and why we could just give up because it's just so hard and people have families and other gigs or whatnot, and it's always just a priority to kind of have that experience because it's so strong between the six of us, and then bringing more people into the fold, and then the people that we meet at shows and the other musicians that get inspired by what we're doing, because it's just all kind of part of this ecosystem of creativity and inspiration, and it's just so special. So thank you so much all for being here and supporting this. I wanted to actually bring up the string orchestra contractor for the Budapest Scoring Orchestra, Balint, if you don't mind, if you're still here, if you didn't leave. Do you have give him one of these microphones if it's on. But yeah, so he was so instrumental in getting this whole thing to happen. And I had never worked with strings before, and a good friend of mine, Michael Kramer, who does a lot of work with like Star Wars, Lego Star Wars and Ninjago and stuff like that, he recommended them. We got in touch, and you were so easy to deal with, and like we accomplished the scoring of the string charts so easily. And I just wanted to talk maybe a little bit about what you offer and what Budapest scoring is, because people might want to use you.
Thank you. So we got contacted by you. I think it was in May, right? And at the time, I had no idea who Accent was. And when I found out about you guys, I was just blown away. I'm a huge fan of Take Six, and myself is also an arranger. And I just really loved what I heard. And at the time, I didn't know that people like Nan and then Gordon and the Big Fat Bad was involved. And I was just really honored and happy when I found out about the project, and to be sort of together in the same team with these guys is just really really incredible. So we mostly do film scores, record music for film scores. And we also do jazz sessions with arrangers like Chris Walden, Alan Broadband, and others, performers like Steve Tyrell. We actually did record to Arturo Sandoval's last album with Stevie Wonder and Al Jarreau accompanying them on a couple of songs. So the musicians are familiar with the genre and the style, and they know how to perform it. And the session, it was a great experience. Before we reached out to each other, and I found out that Andrew lives just a few blocks from my home in Valley Village. So basically, in the morning of the session, I just drove over in 2 minutes, and we remoted the session from his home studio with Nan and Dave. And for those of you guys who are not familiar with the remote process, we use Source Connect now, which is a web browser-based application. So basically all you need is a Chrome browser and a microphone, and you're good to go. You can listen, and you can do it from anywhere. And as you saw in the video, Nan and Andrew was giving notes to the conductor between takes. We recorded multiple takes, and I think that the result is very nice. So
it was so effortless to work with you, and I really liked, for me, doing a remote session, especially when this is a bigger budget thing than we've ever had. So what little money we have, we want to use properly, but also be wise about it and make sure that we were prepared, like everything, like all the Pro Tools sessions. I took days to make sure that everything lined up, especially for the parts that are rubato, that like anything in the chart matched the session, matched whatever. And knowing that you were going to be there and be like not only obviously someone I'd been talking to, but you were physically in the room with me, you spoke both languages, you're an amazing musician yourself. And so that made the idea of a remote session so much more approachable. Otherwise, I think I would have been very overwhelmed by the anxiety of like, oh, what if this doesn't go well and Nan's not happy and Jorge blows up or something? Like we don't know. So just knowing that you were there made it so much smoother. So thank you again for that.
Well, thank you guys. It's really an honor to be on this album with all these amazing arrangers and people.
And part of the service was they filmed everything too, with really, really great shots, really great cameras. So that's really cool to be able to record strings and also feature them in the videos, because so much of music these days is you only sound as good as you look. That's why, as Elliot said, if the Accent's going to do something, it's going to be a video. And the reason for that is just because that's the best way to reach people. And especially if you can use something like this is how it actually looked in the studio. Not only is it interesting, but it's also authentic, And I think that's kind of a cool experience. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Jorge couldn't be here today, so he recorded a little message saying hello.
Hi, everybody. This is George Calandrelli from Beverly Springs, and I'm here tonight to celebrate the release of this wonderful Christmas album by Accent that I had the pleasure of working on. Okay, so everybody please have a great time, enjoy the beautiful music, celebrate, and I send big hugs to Accent, to Andrew, to Dave, my dear friend, and to all of you and my friends from ASMAC. Have a great time. Love you all.
Any questions about this thing that you just saw, which was tonight? Yes. The next Accent album has actually already been arranged. It's James Rose. So this album, we all kind of take turns like leading projects. And if you haven't been able to tell, I had a big role in heading this project up. And mostly just because I'm the LA Accent member, and so much of it involved people in LA, so being the point person for that, and also the kind of production style of it was definitely more in my wheelhouse as far as like the sound and vibe we were going for, the kind of crossover commercial thing. But the next album will be James Rowe's original album, because he writes amazing, very unique, cool charts. So he's already arranged it. I think he's done demos of it, and then we'll probably start recording it in the new year, in the spring, which will be out probably in the summer. So sleep when you're dead, which we might be if we keep working ourselves. Any other questions? So the question was about if someone brings up an arrangement that's maybe not quite in the same style of Accent. It really depends on who brings it up. For me, because I look up to the other guys so much as arrangers, like I've grown 1,000% just by being around them and studying their arrangements. I've transcribed so many of Simon's charts that by just doing that, you just naturally get better. But I still feel like I have so much to learn. So anytime I do an arrangement, I pass it around to the other guys and say, give me your notes and feedback, you know? And usually JB, he loves doing that kind of thing, so he always has ideas or whatever. So it's really fun to collaborate in that way. But you know, for like Simon, he doesn't really need to ask for like, what do you think about this? He just knows what'll work. And James is kind of the same way too, because his style's a little bit outside of the typical like vocal, like we have basically two distinct styles in the group, like Simon's style and James' style, and then me and JB are kind of in the middle. And we just kind of like, well, life is too short to be like, well, maybe we'll just do concept albums. Like, so James, we're gonna do your album and we're gonna let you produce it and do your own style. There has been a couple arrangements that like we have proposed and maybe someone started, but if the group isn't as enthused, or maybe it was just brought up at a bad time where no one had any availability, then you know, some things are on the back burner. But it can happen, and sometimes it depends how open someone is to tweaking something. Like sometimes be like, this arrangement is great, but I hate that chord. And the guy might be like, well, I love that chord, and that chord stay. And I'd be like, okay. Which has happened. We definitely argue about that stuff all the time in the most playful way. And yeah. Anything else? Someone else had a hand? Maybe I could play off Jorge's arrangement to end the night, which is really beautiful. And it actually features a rhythm section trio. And the drummer from that trio, a good friend of mine, Edoardo Tancredi from Italy, he's here. He played on that. And yeah, this is really special. So this is one of the rare songs where accent had nothing to do with the arrangement. And we just did our best to try and bring Jorge's ideas to life.
I'm dreaming tonight of a place I love, even
Crazy chart. All right, I'm just going to wrap this up real quick. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for coming. There's a bunch of people that are here tonight that had some involvement with the record. I do want to especially thank, when I first moved down here about almost 5 years ago, within a month of moving down, I found out that Mervyn Warren was doing a luncheon event. And I came to it, and it was at Catalina's, and it was hosted by this company this organization that sounds like a bad cough. So I showed up for this ASMAC event. And I just loved it. I got to meet Mervyn. I got to talk with him, and then later I've done a little bit of work with him from time to time. And then also I got to meet a very special guy named Milton. And he stayed after with me, and he was chatting to me, and he actually helped get me some gigs unrelated to the jazz stuff that actually helped me afford to even stay living in Los Angeles, because I moved out here without knowing anybody or any friends or jobs or anything. And he got me connected to ASMAC, which is a big part of why this record even exists. Like, if I had not got connected and gotten the guys connected here, this record would not have happened. And also the amazing friendships that I have with the people here, and have also my own solo career, as it were, has been really shaped by people that I've met through this organization. So if you're not a member, it's just such an amazing society to be a part of. We do cool events. If you thought this was cool, they do even cooler stuff with people who have way more expertise than I ever could. And it's just so amazing. So definitely consider it. And I just want to thank you again, Milton especially, and all the technical team here, and Gail and Cher. And it's just been such a lovely night, and I'm so thankful to share this with you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.